This is the third chapter of the second act. May this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. The year 1970 was soon to conclude. I had just turned 20, and dreams of the Himalayas were luring me north. I did not know much about where I was going. I only knew that this part of the world was home to many great sages and holy people I longed to meet and learn from. I was so excited to be in India, on the precipice of great discovery, that I had little time to miss my family. They didn't know where to reach me, so I had had no letters from them since arriving. Still, before making the journey to the Himalayas, I wrote the following message to my home, so far away. My dear family, today I am leaving Delhi to go to the mountains to study. I do not know if I will be able to write often where I am going. Please do not worry if I do not write for a while. With God on my side, what can harm me? With love and thought, Richard. I secured free passage on a third-class train and headed to Hrishikesh, a holy town in the Himalayas known for its many ashrams. As the steam engine chugged forward, leaving Delhi behind in a billowing trail of black smoke, I watched the sunrise from my window and prayed that my pilgrimage to the Himalayas would inaugurate a new day in my spiritual quest. Hours later, I arrived in Haridwar, a holy place on the banks of the Ganga, about 140 miles northwest of New Delhi. From there, I commenced the remaining 15 miles to Hrishikesh on foot. By now, in my readings, I had devoured page after page about the spiritual legends of the Himalayas. Being here was a dream come true. My first sight of the Himalayan foothills thrilled me beyond imagination. The foothills were covered with dense green forests. I saw each tree as a conduit emitting tranquility. A solitary pilgrim, I trekked along an earthen footpath swooning with anticipation. From a distance, I caught sight of something that, like a spark, detonated an explosion of emotions. The river Ganga. I hurried forward and pressed my fingers into the cool, rushing blue waters. I shivered. After sitting for an hour in that lonely place, I walked along the riverbank and came upon the quote-unquote divine life mission, which is the ashram of the renowned Himalayan saint Swami Chidananda. This was the ashram where he performed his meditation and established his teachings. This was the guru of Swami Chidananda, the regal Woodstock guru I had met in Delhi. Sivananda's prolific writings, humanitarian efforts, and personal example had attracted world fame. I had already read some of his writings and was delighted to come across this place. Entering, I learned from some of his followers that before Swami Sivananda left this world in 1963, he chose as his successor Swami Chidananda Saraswati from among his accomplished disciples. Swami Chidananda happened to be at the ashram when I arrived. For a couple of days, I simply soaked in the peaceful atmosphere of the ashram. I learned that ashrams, so prevalent throughout India, were supported by their gurus' followers who maintained ties to the everyday world of business and commerce. After the fourth day there, I asked if I could meet Swami Chidananda. I was led into a simple room where I was greeted by the Swami, an extremely friendly, respectful, and humble man who invited me to sit on the floor with him. Swami Chidananda, I had learned from disciples, was born in South India in 1916 as the eldest son of a fabulously wealthy landowner. Around the age of 20, he heard a calling to live as a renounced monk, giving up all material comforts to serve God. It was at that time that he began to serve lepers, building huts for them on the vast lawns of his home and looking after them personally. In 1943, he finally left his home and moved into the ashram of Swami Sivananda, Swami Chidananda, in Hrishikesh, where he was quickly recognized as a brilliant lecturer. Each morning I attended his lectures. He was a thin man with a shaved head and saffron robes, who was revered by both Himalayan ascetics and seekers from the West. Swamiji sat in a cross-legged yogic pose, speaking eloquent English with precise hand gestures. "Life is meant for the realization of God," he emphasized. "If you die without attaining God realization, your life is in vain. You have wasted away this precious gift of human birth given to you by God." He identified a common problem among spiritual practitioners, that one can do meditation in the morning and evening, but during the activities and dealings of the day show petty-mindedness and selfishness. This, the Swami explained confidently, undid whatever one accomplished in the hours of meditation. He placed a great emphasis on the cultivation of virtue as a fundamental part of one's spiritual evolution. He compared this cultivation of virtue to the work of removing stones, pebbles, weeds, and branches, therein making the soil fertile so that one could plant a garden. Throughout the making the soil fertile, I went back a sentence. Throughout the day, he taught one must sacrifice for others. Morality and high ethics, he said, were like roots on the tree of yoga. He stressed that the disciple should have complete faith that in this age one could achieve God realization through mantra japa, the recitation of God's holy names. "You should practice chanting the Lord's name," he said, "until you reach a state in which the japa goes on uninterruptedly in the mind, even while sitting or standing, eating or drinking, walking or working, waking or sleeping." I didn't know how to chant the Lord's name, but I was very impressed by Chidananda's teaching. One evening, while he and I sat on the floor of his lantern-lit room overlooking the Ganga and the Himalayan valley, the Swami enthusiastically described the details of my travels with uncanny accuracy and even voiced my most intimate thoughts. He had told me how I had left home and discovered a burning passion to journey to India, risking my life along the way to get here. I had never told him these things, but he knew everything so perfectly. While he poured his blessings upon me, I sat in awe. It was rare to encounter someone with such power and fame who could remain so simple and kind. Longing to be in seclusion and purify myself, I thanked Swami Chidananda and left the ashram. The next morning, while sitting on the banks of the Ganga River, I composed a short letter to my mother. My beloved mother, I am doing just what I think I should be doing here. Hrishikesh is a holy city on the banks of the Ganga River. I feel there is much to be learned in the peace and tranquility I have found here. It is quite difficult for me to tell you what I have been doing. I am not so much a tourist or a sightseer. I am more a seeker of my own soul. Living in the East is an entirely different way of life than living in America or Europe. Everything is completely different. It is very difficult to say when I will return, but I will say this. I deeply miss all of my family and all of my friends, and I long to see all of you. But you must understand that I must carry out what I set east to do. Find the true meaning of life. Your loving son, Richard, Hrishikesh, Himalayas, India, January 1971. I boarded a crowded boat to cross the eastern side of the Ganga. Large fish swarmed around the small vessel as we sailed across the sparkling aqua current. A cool breeze swept over me. With deep breaths I drank it in, listening to the hypnotic chant of students reciting the Vedas or holy scriptures on the riverbank. Reaching the other side, I walked alone southward along the bank of the Ganga in search of solitude. Finding a quiet place, I meditated, feeling myself millions of miles from the world I knew. Hours later, I spotted someone approaching. Pacing slowly, with eyes fixed to the river bank, was a holy man with a golden complexion, grey beard, hair draped down his shoulders, and robes that rippled in the mountain breeze. He radiated tranquility. I stood to receive him. Raising his soft, wide eyes, he spoke. "You do not know who I am, but I know you. I have been observing your determination. Now offer the clothes you wear to the river Ganga, and today I will award you the cloth of a Sadhu." "What is a Sadhu?" I asked. "A Sadhu is a wandering mendicant who has forsaken worldly attachments to pursue a divine life. Or you may just say, a monk." On the bank of that holy river, he presented to me 2 pieces of unstitched white cloth made of thin cotton. He showed me how to wrap one piece around the lower part of my body to form a lunghi, and one piece around the upper part to form a chadar. Then he gave me a loincloth of 2 strips of cotton called a kaopin. Honored to receive this gift from such a kind soul, I placed my western clothes into the river's sweeping current and offered a prayer. My turtleneck and jeans were gone forever. Before departing, the man whispered something in my ear. Given the letter I'd just written home, I found it uncanny. "The Ganga will be your mother," he said. "She will reveal this to you in time." Let's pause our reading of the journey home there for now, and we'll continue this 3rd chapter of the 2nd act next time. If you're interested in exploring some of the insights that may have arisen whilst we read, I'd be happy to do so with you. Namaste.